Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia, Saskatchewan, and the Yukon. Trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the pink symbol ABN-AF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. Welcome back to the show, Chris.
Thanks for having me on the show, Jim.
So in Ontario, you're getting snow?
Yeah, this is the first day of snow in my town. Actually, not so much snow. It was huge hail pellets and created a bunch of piles in the corners of the buildings. And it's cold and windy. And, yeah, it's a real sign that winter is just around the corner.
And it's sunny with temperatures in the high teens here on the West Coast.
Yeah, nice.
There's a reason why they charge a lot for the real estate here. Chris, have we seen the kind of market we have right now where you get some tremendous drops and then some minor bounces back? Have we seen that recently?
You know, we haven't seen it. It depends what you consider recently. This year, we've seen it happen a number of times. We've seen it happen twice, very extreme, similar to the setup we have right now in the market. So in February of this year, we had the huge collapse in the market, and we saw wild intraday price swings for about a week. Huge multi-percent gains and losses back-to-back in the overall stock market indexes. Happened again more or less late March, early April. And we're having it again now here in October. And typically we see markets sell off in October. We've been expecting a big sell-off. We've been expecting a 5 to 8% sell-off, and we've seen that 8% from the recent highs on the SP 500. And now we're getting these big back-to-back intraday swings. And I think it's going to continue potentially for another week or two. But overall, it is a good sign. The markets do need to cleanse. They need to purge and shake people out of the market. That's what kind of resets things. It's going to be interesting to see how the market recovers over the next couple months, and as we go into elections here. I think we are seeing a lot of fear in the market, simply because people don't know what's going to happen going into elections, and I think that's going to have a big sideways range, keep things fairly range bound. But I am bullish on stocks at this point still.
Are there any particular stocks that you're keeping an eye on?
I really like the financial stocks. The financial sector we got long down near the low a few days ago, and simply because banks are having they're having strong earnings. Here we are in earnings seasons. Bank of America had strong earnings. If interest rates are going to keep going up, it's going to help the banks. So we like the financial sector. It was oversold. It was at long-term support from back in June. All the signs were there that the overall market was oversold, so we should be looking for a bounce, and that's what we're kind of playing with the financial sector. And I also do like the transportation sector. It's overdone. It's had a nice bounce. The question is, can it get some traction here over the next couple of weeks? But again, I think overall all the sectors are going to really struggle here for a week or two. It's just the type of market, and people have this certain type of market sentiment, the fear that I don't think we're going to see things really just take off and rally at this point. We're going to see everything chop around in a sideways range, and you should be expecting, 2, 3, 4% swings from the highs and the lows, on a back-to-back days. So it's going to be the norm here for a little bit. But again, this is what major bottoms are how major bottoms are formed in the market.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after the break.
Hi, I'm Douglas Mason, President and CEO of Magnum Gold Corp, MGI and the TSX Venture Exchange. A 2015 drill program on the LH property intersected several high-grade gold intersections, including 11 meters of 20.66 grams per ton gold. Additional drill targets on the LH property have been identified by a 2018 drone airborne magnetic survey to further evaluate a pyrrhotite-enriched gold-bearing system. Please visit our website at magnumgoldcorp.com.
Arctic Star Exploration, operated by a team of proven mine finders, is focused on diamonds in Finland and the Northwest Territories of Canada. Work programs are underway in Finland and Canada. Arctic Star trades on the TSX Venture Exchange symbol ADD, on Frankfurt symbol 82A1, and the OTCQB symbol ASDZF. Please visit our website arcticstar.ca or call us at 604-689-1799.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what's the outlook for natural gas?
Yeah, natural gas has had a really terrific run from September up to where we are now. It had a beautiful cycle low in early September. It broke out and it ran to our first target of 310. And here it is now at 330. It spiked almost up to 340. And the technicals are starting to weaken. We're starting to see signs of a potential topping formation. Our cycle analysis topped about a week and a half ago. And at this point, it looks like natural gas is on the verge of a very sharp pullback as we have a bearish pattern forming and volume along with cycles. So I am getting very bearish here on natural gas and potentially looking at getting into an inverse play where the ETF will rise in value as natural gas pulls back. And I think it's a very limited type of setup here because the recent high from about a week and a half ago isn't much higher from where we are. And we should see price reverse down more or less from today or tomorrow in the market, and it should follow through and continue to sell off. So it's a very quick type of play, but I think natural gas is on a verge of collapsing. And that's the same with crude oil. Crude oil actually is in a downtrend. It's got a bearish formation. I talked about this morning with subscribers that it looked like it was imminent for a breakdown and for it to sell off for a few days. And today it did break down, and we're probably going to see continued downward selling for another 2 or 3 days after this. So the energy sector is really bearish at this point.
You would think that perhaps oil prices would be going up with the controversy surrounding that disappeared Saudi journalist, or do the markets already write that kind of stuff off and just look at technicals?
I'm sure a lot of the market is probably playing into potentially that story, but I don't think that's really moving the market at this point. The smart money seems to know what's happening before it happens. We see the markets move before we hear about the news, and that's just the way it is. It seems the big, I wouldn't say manipulators, but the big influences that can move the market with large sums of money seem to kind of get in there and make the move before we really know what happened. And we've seen that in the energy sector stocks. XLE ETF, that's the energy sector fund, and it sold down very hard in a big way in 2 days. It's got a very bearish formation here, looking like it could double that loss again. It could have a very sharp drop, and that's not a good sign. Typically, we want to see energy stocks. They typically lead the commodities. So if energy stocks look this weak and this bad, and we see natural gas looking like it's about to top, crude oil just starting another breakdown, I have a bad feeling that we're going to see energy sector stocks crash, another big drop, and we're going to see energy commodities drop as well.
We'll have more with Chris Vermeulen right after this.
I'm Brian Fowler, president of Blind Creek Resources Limited, listed on the TSX Venture Exchange, ticker symbol BCK. Blind Creek is focused in the Yukon, Northwest Territories, and British Columbia. The company's key property is the Blend Project, one of the largest undeveloped lead zinc silver deposits in Western Canada, plus plans to advance the recently acquired, fully permitted historic engineer gold mine in the Atlan district of northwestern BC. Check us out at blindcreekresources.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Chris Vermeulen. Chris, what's going on with gold and other precious metals?
Well, gold and gold miners, silver, they've all been kind of perking up here and starting to break out of some patterns. Gold has got a very nice pattern. It's finally starting to turn up. It's got a higher high, a higher low on the chart, which is, in theory, means we are now in an uptrend. It's stuck under short-term resistance under the 1240 level, but overall, it's got very nice price action and volume, meaning we're seeing big buying step in, and on the selling days, it's very light volume. So it just means more or less people are in accumulation phase. They're not into selling anymore. We're not seeing the big volume selling days. And that's the same with gold miners. You look at the GDXJ, it broke out of this bottoming formation, had a very strong pop, and it rallied right into the 30 mark, which is a whole number. Typically 30, 40, 50 marks on the chart act as resistance if you're underneath them. And so it came right up to that level, which also happens to be a breakdown level that we saw in August, just as price went into free fall mode. So it's a very critical point in the gold miners. And I do feel like gold miners are going to kind of trade sideways or feather a bit lower here for a couple of weeks, kind of have short-term cycles topping out. But I am bullish on them. I think going forward, they've got some pretty big moves to the upside ahead of them. And it's really interesting because today we've got the U.S. dollar up almost 0.5%, which is a big move in the dollar. And precious metals have held very strong all day, down just a little bit considering the strong dollar. So to me, this is a bullish sign that money continues to move into the precious metals as a safe haven play. And I do feel as though the dollar is slowly getting a little toppy, and I think it's going to be under pressure for a while to help support the price of precious metals.
President Trump today said the U.S. Fed is his biggest threat. What do you think he means?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Obviously, the stock market is kind of overvalued. It's funny. You read reports online. Some people are saying we're ready for the biggest crash of our life in the stock market. And then you read another headline from some economists saying that this is going to be one of the lowest valuations we're going to see in decades. And it's a big buying opportunity. It's amazing how both extremes, are just so out there. But more or less, the stock market is, to me, on a technical basis and a valuation basis, we're more or less overbought. Prices have been going up forever, and rates are starting to creep up. And of course, you bump the rates up a little bit, and we saw the stock market crash. And there's eventually we're going to have this problem. We see it over and over again, where the stock market, real estate markets get very frothy, overbought, overpriced. And then rates eventually catch up. And finally, there's a balance. Like, do you want to move over to somewhere and just take a safe interest rate because you're worried the stock market's going to crash? And that's what we're starting to see is rates go up, money moves into some interest rates. And it also is putting future pressure on real estate, mortgages, people's spending. And, it's a bad thing to see rates going up. It's going to create the market reset eventually and stall the stock market. So I think it is. If Trump is talking about the Fed maybe affecting the stock market, I think that could be what he's talking about.
Has cannabis reached a new level of legitimacy? It's not only legal now for recreational use in Canada, but Aurora Cannabis has received permission to list on the New York Stock Exchange. Does that move them into the big time?
Yeah, well, I would think it sure has. Aurora Cannabis. It's interesting because I think the U.S. has now got these rules in place saying that I recently heard that if they ask you if you have smoked marijuana, they can deny you access into the United States as a Canadian. And they're saying if you own shares of some cannabis companies or are part owner or director of these, you're not allowed in the States anymore. So it's interesting how strict they are coming with these customs rules, but they're letting, companies start to trade because they want them on their exchanges. So, there's two kind of different angles they're taking there, but totally Aurora Cannabis, big company, now getting listed on the U.S. exchanges, I think is a big step forward for, the whole kind of market in general.
Chris, thank you so much for chatting with us.
Hey, always a pleasure, Jim. Thanks for having me on the show.
My guest has been Chris Vermeulen from thetechnicaltraders.com. If you have any questions for Chris or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard. Thanks for listening.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at talkdigitalnetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of How Street Media Incorporated.